In a world filled with noise and chaos, where the pace of life seems to accelerate with each passing day, there exists a quiet sanctuary, a place for contemplation, connection, and profound transformation.
Welcome to Awæcnian Odyssey, a journey of discovery into the depths of the human spirit. Here, amidst the hustle and bustle of modern life, we invite you to pause, to breathe, and to explore the timeless questions that unite us all.
From the wisdom of ancient traditions to the insights of modern thinkers, each episode of our series offers a glimpse into the rich tapestry of human experience. Through inspiring stories, thought-provoking conversations, and transformative insights, we embark on a quest for meaning, purpose, and authentic connection.
So join us on this extraordinary odyssey, a journey of self-discovery, compassion, and empowerment. Together, let us delve into the depths of our shared humanity as we awaken to the infinite possibilities that lie within.
This is Awæcnian Odyssey, exploring the depths of the human spirit with hosts Marie Ferguson and Felicia Lee.
Let the journey begin. Viewer discretion is advised. This program may contain explicit or triggering content. Parental guidance is suggested.
Hello, welcome back. It is 2025, Flea. My goodness, we have had such a well-deserved break. How are you feeling?
Oh, I definitely needed the break, and the lovely 9-year that we are in is turning out to be phenomenal because things that have shifted and ended are now coming into that full rotation of new beginnings, and that's what I love about this show and what we do. So I'm excited to start this year off and really look into these human experiences that we all have and share and connect with.
I love that. And I was listening back to our intro and I was like, this show is like amazing. And we've explored and dabbled and did a lot of work with different podcasts. We co-hosted, I know I co-hosted 5, but you did 6 global summits last year. We served 160 people from 14 different countries. I'm like, wow, what amazing effort we have done in that year. And I saw on LinkedIn that people were celebrating our 2 years of Awæcnian Academy. And I was like, it's been that long, which is very short. And we've done a lot in that year. So, to come back, it's now March. We had a bit of a hiatus and a bit of a rest. But like you said, there's been like a rebirth, old cycles just being allowed to shed. And I feel like, there has been lots of shifts and changes in our own personal worlds, us learning to evolve and reset our vision, our intention of how we want to elevate and not only serve each other and what we're doing here with Awæcnian Academy, this beautiful show, but also the world, because our hearts have this big mission to change paradigms, to bring more passion, creativity, inspiration to the world. So I feel like we've gone through a massive rebirth. I'd love, for you to share what the last I think the last time we did a live one of our other podcasts was in November last year. So it's been quite a few months. What has shifted for you from the end of last year to now in this, I suppose, rebirth process? I'd love to find out what you've been up to and what you've experienced.
2 key words that you included there, intention and the rebirth. And that just brought up this big picture of the death card, which is number 9, when we're looking at, the things that we have to let go. And I guess in that time, there's been a whole big shift of, what am I actually doing? Who am I doing it for? What's the point and the purpose of everything that we've created? We've really experienced a lot in those 2 years, and it does feel like a lot longer than 2 years. And you asked me a question last year. It's like, well, what are you doing this for? And I went, well, I wanted to experience it. So everything that we've done, I wanted the healing. I wanted the information. I wanted to experience other people. And for a lot of us, money is a big factor. It prevents us from getting the healing that we need. It puts us in that lack mind predicament. And that's where I was sitting. I was sitting with this, how do I get what I need if I can't purchase it, if I can't buy it? Well, the beauty of being in this rebirth energy is knowing that we are the creator. And what better way to get what you need than to actually create the stages and the platforms that give you that? So I did a lot of healing, and that is the rebirth that we're sitting in now, is the space after all of that death, all of that destruction, like really tapping into some deep wounds. And there were a lot of deep wounds. There was a lot of lack mentality, overgiving, oversharing, health problems that were coming up regularly. It's like, why am I sick again? My throat is sick again. Where am I not sharing my truth? Where am I holding back my feelings and my emotions? And that for me is what has really landed home. And I needed the time to integrate that. So from November to April, like, that's a long time to just, no, I don't want to create. No, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to do anything other than something that is for me. So art has been where I've been transforming and transferring all of that energy. And I love that your new business venture has led to that really opening up for me. And I'd love for you to share that with our audience as to what you're also doing on the side.
Oh, thank you. And that journey you mentioned, it's not a fun journey. It can be ugly at times, and there were pieces as well, even with our relationship, where it was like it felt really icky, but we held each other through it and honored each other through it, and we were still there. And it's like, I'm not leaving you. I'm getting emotional now, because there was a moment where it was like, you were like, some things happened, and you're like, I feel like, I was abandoned. I'm like, but I'm still here. And I think that was a really beautiful reflection and also healing moment for me as well, to kind of go, you know what, I do stick with the people that I love and that I care about, that, because you are my family. And that piece of knowing, I think I feel for you was like, nah, she's a true sister, she's here. And it was like, I know what that felt like, even in my own growing up, of feeling abandoned and people leaving me and me having to do things all myself. And now we do have connection and tribe building, and these really beautiful bonds with people that are aligned. And so in that alignment, in trusting the universe and trusting the things that we were doing, but also choosing to up level not only myself, but in my leadership of myself, it the ripple effect got to impact my husband, the people around us, and that other business you were talking about, Creative Hearts Co. I didn't even know at the beginning of the year that was going to evolve. Like, there were seeds planted, there were lots of things that were synchronous that we were thinking about, but there was this deep piece. I'm like, well, that's not just my energy. Someone else gets to do that, so then we can be in our power and our, creative genius. And it was evolving, through honoring the creative gifts of my husband, like these beautiful artworks here. And, like that stage you were talking about, we create the stages. I was like, if you want an exhibition, you want to show your artwork, let's do it. And then it was aligning with another beautiful woman who I met through one of the events I did, who was also an artist, along with the same visions and different skill set. And she wanted to showcase her artwork. And then it was like, how do we share more of this with local artists? And then I was like, we did an event at the end of last year where we were doing our thing and recording stuff and hosting. And then I remember saying to Flea, I think we were opening the next day, I was like, you need to bring your artwork in. You need to just bring it in. And she's like, it's not finished. It doesn't matter. People can just see the process. And you know what? She did. Later that day, she went home, she's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. She brought it all in. And it was really beautiful, this piece around saying yes and taking that leap of faith, not only for yourself, but even like in this venture of saying, okay, yes, we're doing it. I don't know how we're going to do it, but trusting, that the connections that people are making, the way that we got to create the space and do it our way was such a deep, beautiful lesson. And we could, support artists like yourself. I think we had 15 artists from our local area in the Greater Springfield region where we are in Ipswich. We had youth come in, which was beautiful. That was only a last minute decision. I think maybe the week before we opened, I was like, we need some teamwork. We need some teenagers. We need some young people art in here. And then we had a selection, which was amazing. So again, I suppose it was the trust and knowing like my own genius zone in like taking those leaps of faith, connecting with people and saying yes to the unknown, that these gifts unfolded. And I was like, just open to receiving, open, to whatever experience would come. And it was beautiful and it was freaking hard too. Like the amount of hours we put in to create something from scratch and like the physical hours that my husband put in to make the gallery systems, to design the hanging, the time and effort Flea was helping us like laminate and cut up signs, and that was hours of just like, doing that. And it was such a big learning curve, and we're never going to do it that way again. But there was beautiful experiences. And Flea, you sold 2 beautiful pieces from there, which was amazing. And now it's like, this piece of like, I'm an artist. I love doing this. I'm like, well, let's be the artist. We can still do these other things, but be the artist. And then there was this competition. I was like, you need to do this. She's like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm like, yeah, you are. And then the next day you created a whole website. You're like, all right, okay. And sometimes you just need that support and that, that encouragement to go, just do it and see what happens. But then it's balancing that with the rest, and I don't think you would have been able to do that if you didn't have that time to rest, and really come back in to what you wanted. Which I think is really, really important.
Yeah, there's definitely some pieces there, like you said, the yuckiness. I felt abandoned, and I'll be completely honest. It was like, this is my dream, and you're creating it with other people. In saying that, I was offered, but I was offered at a time where we were doing lots of other stuff, and it's like, I can't take on board another venture. And I did. I got jealous, and I felt left out, and that feeling really sat yucky with me. It was like, no, hang on a sec. There's more to this. Why am I feeling this? And in complete me fashion, I dive into the whys very, very harshly. It's like my core default mode. Why? I'm the little kid but why, mummy? But why? And I did that with myself. It's like, why am I feeling this way? And it wasn't just that group. We had other groups that, that collapsed, and I felt abandoned by the people that I'd given my energy to. And in sitting with that, it was like, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. And when I was looking at that, it's like, well, if I'd been part of the adventure of setting that up, of being a fourth partner in a business, that you don't need 4 people, I wouldn't have actually had the energy to then be creating it. It was in that yuckiness that I created that artwork, and I went back in. It's like, even though I'm in pain, I'm dotting and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I hate this, but I just need to do something and I need this energy out. So as I'm in pain, I'm creating. And that was one of the pieces that sold. It was incomplete. I'd had this vision on my head that, probably would still be sitting on my wall incomplete, because it was like, no, I want it to be this. And it was hearing the reflections through the beautiful people that bought the artwork. So it's like, for me, this is what it represents. And it's like, it doesn't have to be about me, because it's what they get to take home. And if somebody sees the beauty in what I've created, even undone, they didn't know it wasn't complete. They thought it was ready to go. And it's like, okay, what I think is undone or not worthy or not good enough for somebody else is exactly what they needed. And if I'd been part of the process of actually being in the business, I wouldn't have had that. And it was in that, I guess, that jealousy moment that was like, oh, you should bring your artwork. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. That I went, oh, actually, no, I can. And what harm is it going to do? Like, I'm never, ever going to get this opportunity again. Well, that was what was happening in my mind anyway. to have my work in display in a gallery, like this is something usually people pay for. And like I said earlier, if you can't provide it, create it. And that is what is the core of my artwork. It's like this piece here. I use this canvas for one of our summit speeches. It's like I just needed something to draw on because we didn't have the paper, we didn't have the utensils and everything. I'm like, I've got a canvas in my car. I'll just use this and I'll draw it as I'm speaking. And it was a big mess. It had some tacky ink, that I just used some alcohol markers, so they really draw into the fibers of the canvas. And I was like, oh, it's all right. I'll paint over it. And I went, hang on a sec, I can't paint over it because I painted it first blue. I don't know if no, you can't see. I painted it first blue and I could still see the lines through it. And I was like, oh, now I've just ruined a canvas. I've just wrecked it and I can't use it. So then I decided, okay, I'll just splotch on it. And now I can still see the lines. That's when just being in the creative space that Creative Hearts had in that gallery. So I was able to take my artwork in and just be me in a space where other artists were gathering inspiration, that it started to unfold a little bit more. And this was a wasted piece of canvas. This was something that most people would discard because it was used. The lines, the markings were coming through. And I just went, no, like us, we can keep building, we can keep developing, we can keep growing. And another layer on top of another layer is what creates the process for me of healing. And that wouldn't have happened the other way around. So what I really wanted to share this for is because those little frustrations or annoyances, the jealousy, the feeling left out, they're happening for you. And it's when we can really sit there and go, well, why is it happening for me? That space was taking up too much energy that wasn't meant for me because I was having to become someone that I'm not and having to conform to rules that I don't fit into boxes. I can't sit in a structure that keeps me confined because my energy will be right up here one day and then right down here the next day. And it's in understanding that I need to balance that energy. And sometimes it means taking myself out of a space, which could be for a couple of months or it could be a couple of hours. And that's what that gift really gave me and why we're sharing, these struggles and challenges of the real world. We as friends, how do you give up on a friend and say, hang on a sec, you hurt me, without hurting them in return? And that's what we get to work through together and with Awæcnian Academy, which is just beautiful. And I really thank you for being that constant and seeing past the barriers of self-limitation to be able to give back. And that's a gift. And it's really something special when you find your tribe that really know deep down at your heart when and what you need.
Just receiving that. Thank you. It's beautiful. And I know we've shared these things privately offline as well, but I think when people hear the truth of what it's really like, it's not all like roses and happy and all the stuff. And this is life, even in like your most intimate relationships, just even, husband and wife team working with another person who beautiful way, her energy works so beautifully with us two, was required for that dynamic to work. So all three of us could work together, because I've never worked with Sean before, home life, relationships, husband and wife, parenting. We had our own different things we did, but this was the first time. It's almost like another initiation into understanding ourselves and each other. But that energy of having another person was, I feel like, beautifully suited to Sean's energy and mine, that was required for that dynamic. And, even when Flea and I work with and interview other people, there are certain people that just blend really beautifully with us. And we're like, oh, we know we're going to work with that person, or we know we're going to connect with that person in something else. And like you said, this was for you. And this project, it wasn't for me. I'm like not an artist in that way. But for Sean to elevate in his dream and vision as his union, as his partner, as I see as like that divine opposite, helping provide that to bring it tenfold is part of the gift I get to do in our journey together, however that looks. And that it had to evolve that way for other pieces now to fall into place with whatever we're creating and co-creating, and his other dreams and visions and mine. And you're like, there's this beautiful weaving. You had this beautiful post the other day of the pieces around individuality, and we are not the same. We are not the same, but yet we are one. So I'm going to thread these pieces in because, in those decisions, it was also honoring your energy and honoring the other people and allowing the things to unfold as they, because if it's for you, it'll happen. And it's that trust, right? And the intuition, but it's also having, even though it may not seem it at the time, but I feel like there was this deep sovereign respect of like, she needs to be the artist. There's other things happening, and there'll be revelations and other things for all the things, and even for myself, but to honor the sovereignty of the person and their energy and their being, I think is a really important piece because, we talk about oneness and coming together, and yes, that's important, but we're also individuated and individual for a reason, because the gifts that you have, Flea, I can't do half the things that you do, and vice versa, and Sean, and Hui, and this is the beauty about what it is to be human and here and now in the challenges, in the lessons, because we then get to honor that journey for each of ourselves and talk about it and share it and inspire others as well. So, this piece around sovereignty, I think for us to get to this stage now, we had to have our summit called Seeking Sovereign Souls, and all the summits we did, because like you said, that healing and coming back into that wholeness, like we are fully whole and healed and all the things, and we are still on that process of discovery and healing at the same time, in the paradox of what that is, which can be confusing for some people. But it's not a this or that. It's all happening together. And some days, like you said, you can be up here, and the other days you're down here. And sometimes in a moment, in the emotion, you can feel both. And that's hard and emotional and draining and beautiful in a way as well. So I'd love to talk about this piece around sovereignty, because in reflection, all of those summits, all of the learnings, all of the support, and opportunities, not only for ourselves, but for the people that came into our field, there are so many beautiful resources that we've gotten to cultivate in that time that now, if you're listening in, you get to utilize. And this day and age, we're in this precipice of deep shifting and changing. And if you're like feeling the stuckness, if you're feeling the ick, if you're feeling the death and the rebirth still and processing stuff, and you're like, I need help, I don't know how, then come and chat with us. We've got this beautiful course that is such beautiful value that has, I think we had 48 speakers from 14 countries in that Seeking Sovereign Soul Summit. But that piece around sovereignty and the tools that we've developed for ourselves by doing these things, so valuable and life-changing. Flea, I'd love for you, because I know you pieced it all together and it looks beautiful. Like that particular summit and all the other ones after, like what was it about doing these summits, the healing process, that not, because you said to me at the end of last year, actually before we jumped on this call, I do things now for me. And like, that's why you created your art, because it was like your process. And it was a really beautiful point you made earlier about like, it actually then doesn't matter about what you do because other people can receive it differently. But to start to create, it does have to be about you and your sovereignty and what lights you up in the passion. I'd love for you to share your insights on this piece around sovereignty and the learnings that we've cultivated that now people can access for $9.95 US on our website all these resources. I'd love for you to share like your insights and reflections on that.
Yeah. Ah, I guess to begin with, it was around trying to build a community. Like it we had this idea, it's like, okay, we just need more people to make it a bigger thing. And the more people that we spoke to, and that's your beautiful gift of connection, of bringing these people in that I just think they'd be perfect here. They each had the same notion, really. Like if you have a look at every single person in that list, like everyone speaks the same truth of coming back to the authenticity of self. And that's the sovereign being, is each one of us has a soul driven message or gift that we're here to express. Now, most people think purpose, and I guess this is where the summits come in, is everyone has a different idea. Everyone has a different concept, a different way of explaining things. And for me, I'm like, okay, well, I want to understand. I want to be able to communicate with the scientist, with the artist, with, just the everyday Joe that has no idea what an awakening is, or Awæcnian for that matter, or, some of the language that has guided us to where we are today. So hearing all of these different perceptions was really that grand opening. It was like, okay, if we're all one, and it was probably before we even did this summit, I think we had a conversation. I was getting some downloads, and downloads for anyone out there is literally just information that pops into your head that really resonates at a core being. So you're just like, that makes sense to me. That's a download. It just comes to you. It's no fancy, I'm seeing vision. Some people do. Some people see it through a lens of a ghost, a spirit, an angel, or whatever. But it's literally the thought that comes from nowhere, and you can tell that it's different to your everyday murmur, because it's like, who was that? Who is telling me this thing that I'm now asking questions in my head? I'm like, okay, this here is my higher self. And if we think of our higher self as our energy source, that's God. It's a different term. You can create a being, you can create an animal, a totem, whatever visualization you need to represent that. But it's the literal energy that is coming through our core being that goes, hang on a sec, what about this? And that's the driving force to our purpose. So when we're in our heart space and things feel great, we're living authentically. We're living with that purpose. And this download that came through for me was like, okay, well, if I choose my reality, and my reality is all things all at once, because, when we look at quantum physics and things like that, we look at this interdimensional, that with a thought, we create our next step, our next action. So that's our driver. That thought comes in, that higher energy comes in and says, okay, I need to do this. That was sitting with me, and it's like, well, hang on a sec. If I'm all things and we've had these past lives that aren't now, well, that would mean that I am you and you are me. So why am I seeing a version of myself that's in conflict with myself some of the time, but also driving me to be that higher version? And that is where our expressions interlock. That's where the weave of reality actually comes in. And that is where our sovereign being needs to be guided in the sovereignty of individuality. You are Marie in this life. I have lived your life, or I could live your life in another realm, in another dimension. All I have to do is look at you and see where your steps could go to then be imagining that reality. And that's the core concept, is the imagination. It's not false, because that took me back to my childhood of, well, what about the mythical creatures and these stories? Where do they come from? Like, if it's just make believe and it doesn't exist anywhere in reality, well, how is that possible? Because we know that existence comes through the lens of imagination. So me believing in fairies as a kid, that didn't disappear. It was just like, okay, well, it's just taken a different shape in my adult life. Me being an angel, or, from a different planet, or being burnt alive. Like, I've literally had those feelings of being burnt at the stake from a past life. It's like, well, where does that come from? It comes from that information that is channeled through us. And we can sit there and go, oh, it's hogwash, it's just your imagination, it's this and that. But the more you tap into it, the more real it becomes. And it's in this energy that I know that is coming through me that we get to center that information and create what we want next. And that's how this all unfolded. It's like, well, what do I want next? I want a community to share. I want a space where people that I may never ever get the chance to meet in real life can really give me, I guess, that baseline, give me the balance I needed for the thoughts that were coming through. Because why do we need other people? We need other people to experience our expression of this reality. Otherwise, we don't exist. If there was no human beings on Earth, would there be an Earth? Like, if there's nobody here to witness it, does it exist? We hear these concepts of the tree falling in a woods and, does it actually make a sound if nobody hears it? Well, yes, it does, because somebody thought it to begin with, and it is real for somebody else. And I put a post out this morning around, or it could have been yesterday, about flat Earth is real. It's real for some people because they literally will get the evidence that they need to prove that theory correct, because in their reality, that's what they need to express their true self. Now, the problem I've found, and this is the real world hustle, is that we then come into conflicts with the other versions of ourselves that are like, hang on a sec, you're going to challenge me and you're going to say it's not real. Well, it's not for us to convince them that it is real. It's for us to know it within our heart that that is the sovereign being of ourself. And we can talk any concept in reality, and it's the same thing. We talk about mechanics. You put the wrong fuel into your car, it's going to break down. You put the wrong fuel into your body, you're going to start to notice it. Cancers are the literal blocks in our body that says, no, you're not in alignment. This energy is not for you, release it. And like, what other evidence do we need other than our own bodies? Once you know the microorganisms within you, the good and the bad bacteria that work together, that's duality. You have to have both, otherwise the stomach, gut, the mind, the feeling doesn't work. We get sick. We're out of alignment. We're out of our energy chakras, which is the standing up tall, our bodies hunch over. It gets stuck in the digestion. It gets stuck in everything that we do. And that's just human basics, really. Where else can we go?
So many cool analogies there. Oh, look, I have friends that are flat earthers, and, they so do believe it. And at the same time, when we talk about the spherical systems of the universe and what other knowledge and truths we learn, there are other pieces that people talk about with the multidimensional Earths, with Earth splitting and going into new Earth. And, there is a deep gnosis that I know that there are shifts and changes beyond what science right now as we understand it, can't explain. So, it's respecting the people, I think. Like you said, if that's their truth and they've got the evidence and they've got this, if they you can't draw a horse to water and make it drink. That saying, but doesn't mean that they're a bad person. That's just their truth in the moment, and it might not align with your truth, and that's okay. And these
you said it before.
Yeah.
In the I am not you and you are not me and we're not the same. Like, we're not meant to be the same. And that's like the why.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why does it challenge you? Well, because it challenges your core belief. Okay, but can we look at it as an extension of ourselves, as a growth platform of, okay, well, I believe it's spherical because, like all energy, it has to come back in. So for me, as above, so below, we have that circle of energy. So that's how I see it, and I view it that way. Why would a person need to feel like they're on a flat earth? Well, one, it's a conspiracy. So, attached to the theory of, we're not in control of our own destiny, that we're part of some system of matrix that has us trapped. Well, why do you need to be trapped? These why questions just keep coming out. And the more we look at a person and go, well, why do they feel they need to be trapped? Because in their reality, they have to create a system to get out of that. They have to find their way in their authentic nature to belong in this system of stuck.
Yeah.
For me, it's open. I'm out there, the universe is the same as the universe and so on. So I'm just looking at reflections of myself in a grand scale of objects that really have no tangible energy. We create this, it starts as something else, and it formulates into the things we need. This is the traditional AI, the tools that we need in order to express ourselves completely whole. And each expression is just that advancement of consciousness.
Mm. I love that you brought this thread of AI and advancement of consciousness. We were talking about this before. Well, we're a little bit controversial today, but again, if it's triggering you, it's a good thing. We're coming at it with curiosity, with open-mindedness, with non-judgment. I'm putting it out there, and we're just sharing our opinions, thoughts, ideas, just as we are in our authenticity. But this piece around AI, I find really interesting because it is growing at a speed, and there is balancing that needs to happen. And yet, like the tool that you said with the glass, like us creating these tools, this is another tool, like our voice, like the pen or the pencil. The pen or the pencil is a weapon. People have used it for good, for inspiration, to inspire, and they have also used it to taint, to turn people, with propaganda. Our voices, people that are in power, whether you are choosing to inspire and motivate and share authentically, or again to manipulate, to do all the things that we see happening in our government systems. I'm just going to leave it there. But these things are happening for a reason, for us to experience what it's like to see that in our reality. And like with AI, there is an infinite intelligence that, if it hasn't existed in the universe, then it does to. I suppose it's a very big concept. I'm struggling in my humanness to explain existence and non-existence. But the fact that it exists is real, and the fact that we've been able to tap into the frequency to then create it as a tool, if we choose it to, I feel is, again, in our power and intention of how we use that tool, like the pencil, like our voice. And so I know with my experience, I've only used things like Facebook and Instagram, and I've never really had much negativity, because my intention of how I use it to connect, to show up, to share story, I've been very blessed to not experience like trolling or negativity and anything like that. And I hope not, but I know it's there. But like with AI, it's a tool, right? And everything that I have used it for has been beneficial to speeding up my processes, to getting insights into things. It was interesting. Sean was having a conversation with another AI tool to get information about other things. And he's like, it's very real. He's like having a conversation with another device about certain processes and things to help with business, or to help him understand how to use certain programs. And so, again, how you use it, the intentionality, which comes back to this theme of today's series episode, is really, really important, because like anything, can use this for good or evil. And it's how we choose to perceive it and use it with our own experience. So yeah, it's I've had good experiences. I know, Flea, you have too. You're like, it's so profound to see what it replies back to. And I know there are other things that it can do bad things, and with like anything, how do we use our discernment for ourselves, for our families, for our children, to educate and learn and use it as a tool? I think that's a really big thing that we're still learning in this evolution of how we use these processes and things like that. What's your take on that?
Oh, there's so many. I guess one of those examples as to how you were explaining is, as a makeup artist, I can create a physical being that doesn't exist. I can turn, I know that in television we can turn people into aliens, we can turn people into different animals, hybrids, all these different things. Now that concept is an imagination, it's a thought process. It already exists because we've shared different stories, over the times people have had visions and things like this that have been their experience of reality. Now, just because it's AI and like some people are like, AI is going to take over. And it's like, okay, well, if that's what you're choosing to believe is going to happen, then there must exist a possibility where you overcome that. There has to be a reason for that hardship to be there. And I said earlier, I love being in the lesson. The lesson keeps us in, like, our lessons are usually our pain. So it's the things that cause us the most distress, and we sit there with this pain, and it's like, okay, well, it's teaching me something, like the jealousy and what we were talking about earlier. It's teaching me more about myself. So when we come up with these concepts, and especially like television is a huge one because most people just see it as entertainment. Oh, it's not real. But every now and again, you'll be strung emotionally by something, and that connection is like, hang on a sec, that was real for me. So I know that, as someone that's been abused, when I see that on television, I don't see it as entertainment. It's like, no, this is actually informing me of the deception and the hardship that actually is present in our reality. Now, when we go to the mythical creatures and stuff like that, well, if it's not existing here, it does exist in another reality because somebody has thought it. And that transferring it to the television, which is AI, is another reality. What we see via a screen is a different dimension of reality. It's showing a different way of life, a different experience. Like we talk about aliens and they're out there and they're watching. Well, we're not seeing it because we're choosing not to. But we know it exists because we're creating the entertainment that shows us that it exists. It's like all we have to do is look at our entertainment, what we've already created. And we talk about AI, like we know that AI was coming in. In my reality, it was spoken about beyond 2000, all of the things that are going to be part of our technological advancement as the human race. So in my mind, my entertainment, what I've viewed, has already created this perception of what's going to happen in the future. Has everything that was on beyond 2000 actually came true? No, we still don't fly around in cars and, do all this sort of stuff. And we're well past 2000. So 25 years on and we still haven't got that, people. What's going on? But that there was the bridge that then allowed Elon Musk to create his technology that allows all of these people to create devices and computers. We know that, telephones have crystal format. This activates that. That's a natural formation of the earth that happened through that creative process. So, these things have to exist. We see it as some people it's just a rock. It's got nothing. It's just something of the earth and it has no properties. For others, it's an intentional power that we can manifest. And just in clear quartz is the driving energy behind light, behind a lot of the circuitry in our technology. So if a natural thing can then create an unnatural thing, aren't we doing the same thing? We're natural beings creating unnatural forces, using the same material, our imagination, to create reality. Now, all we have to do is have the driving force behind it to go, actually, I can make this reality. So everything starts as a possibility, the thought. That possibility then turns into probability and action. Because the more we think on something, the more the energy is drawn to us and the ways of creation happen. If you'd asked people 100 years ago whether or not, they'd ever believe that they were talking on a device that they could take around with them and, connect to people across the globe, they'd be like, no, that's impossible. But somebody believed it. The person that created the light bulb, they believed that that energy could be harnessed, that it could be driven into a singular form, and that form becomes creation. Just like the artwork. Did I know that that particular item would be anything? No, it was paint on a canvas and it became a texture. And then I was like, oh, something is unfolding here. There's a grid, there's a pattern that is centralized in all of its complexities coming in to being a one thing. but it's not connected. It's separate. It's literal dots that have no defining points of line, I guess. So, like when we go to the 0 point, a single dot, that is energy. A single dot then can be transformed into multiple little dots. We have
Mm.
particles. And then it can be transformed into things that connect, and we have shape. It might be line, it might be linear, it might have no direction, and then we have energy. All of this is there by the sheer thinking concept. So that's consciousness. Our ability to think means that we are the creators of our own reality. We formulate everything based on what we intentionally think. And I've had some horrid thoughts come through that it's like, okay, I'm dying. I was pregnant last year, like 5 times, and I'm like, this is impossible. It can't happen. But my body was telling me this. And it's like, okay, what am I trying to get out of this? And it's the idea, the birthing of something new, and the rebirth topic that we started with, that is that central point. It is that one particle, that one little, ooh, what if?
Mm. And that what if is part of the process, the journey, the continual questioning and growing and evolving. And, it's not really about the end result. It's about enjoying the journey in this human experience, in this reality that we are in now, like the artwork in the creation process, right? And like coming back to yourself, in order for you to serve others, you can't pour from an empty cup, So you do have to have those boundaries. You do have to choose you in your sovereignty, because then when you choose you, the ripple effects that others then get to receive become more bountiful. But it's trusting the process, trusting your intuition, trusting the journey in the ebbs and flows of the challenges, the hardships, sharing the gratitude and the beauty, and finding more and more moments of that. Because when you find more and more of those moments and you feel what that feels like in the resonance and the frequency, you create more opportunities of that, because your body is then getting used to how to be in that higher vibration and higher frequency. And then you notice people then start to fade away that don't serve you. New people come in, new opportunities come in. And so I shared this question, and I've had this question to me before. It's like, who are you becoming?
Mm.
Who are you becoming? And knowing that you're already that person, if you've got this goal or this vision, this intention for your life, holding that and the journey to get there gets to be exactly what you require. The universe gives you everything you need when you need it, even when you feel like it is shit and stuck in the mud. Why are you stuck in the mud? Why are you feeling that stagnancy? What is the lesson, as Flea was saying before? What is the lesson in this moment? And I've had many stuck in the mud moments, but like the lotus, that beautiful lotus can only grow from the mud and the muck. So in that stagnant water, you see beautiful flowers blooming, and there is still growth happening underneath the murkiness where we can't see it. So how do we enjoy the process? How do we sit in those feelings and allow ourselves to feel what it is we need to feel without having to push or do? And I know Flea said to me in a text message, like, no, I'm just open. I'm not pushing. I'm not forcing anything. If things come my way. And I'm like, I love that, because this is the ebbs and flows. And then you take action on the things you want to do. And if other things unfold, it's trusting the people around you that those things will then intertwine, because you've trusted yourself, your intuition, And then when you're invited to respond, knowing that you're a manifesting generator, then you respond accordingly if it's in alignment to your sovereignty. And knowing my energy, I have always created things and initiated things and done this. And my lessons have been learnt to listen more deeply, slow down at times. And then if I don't, my body forces me to, as well as trusting the process of my evolution and the things that I get to create and co-create with people, because I know what my gifts are. I am attuning to and learning the gifts of the other people around me so I can then heighten and enhance what they're doing. So how can we do more of that? And it's that balance of self and understanding other, which is the individuation, but also knowing that we are one in that understanding comes back.
Mm. That's the collective consciousness, isn't it? Is that, when we're in alignment or even out of alignment, like we will connect and draw in the same energy. So if you're stuck and, you're feeling the depth of that despair, well, one, yes, there's the lesson. So, what am I resisting or avoiding in my life that would create the change that is necessary? And that's the huge factor. You have to create the change. If you're feeling stuck and you're still doing the same thing every single day, well, you're going to stay stuck. It's where you do have to open up and go, well, why not? My artwork wasn't finished. Why not? What harm is it going to do by putting it on a wall? Like, it's sitting on a wall anyway, but at least now somebody gets to see it. And that's the difference. And if I'd never taken that opportunity, I wouldn't have sold those artworks. It'd still be sitting here and I'd still be working through this cycle of, well, my art is just for me. It's not for anybody else. It's never going anywhere. It's pointless. Like the literal dot that created it. It's a point. And the point that, this human consciousness, this collective consciousness, and why the summits were so impactful is that when we have union of energy, and I'm saying it as an energy, so a thought process or a concept. So we were seeking sovereign souls. We were after the leaders, the people that, wanted to align with themselves, that wanted to create change. Well, those people came together and created a profound event that, was growth for us, but it was growth for them. And it's there, it's in existence now. It can't be wiped from the face of the world because we created it. And in that conscious creation, we came together, we had union, we had connection. And with that connection, it gives you the certainty that we need as human beings, because that's, I guess, the divine free will that, we've come down here with different languages and different concepts and different particles of ourselves fused together. And it's like, well, how do I live with the people I don't like that are creating harm, that are keeping me stuck? Well, first you have to step out of that and stop believing that that's what's happening, because they're creating that for themselves in their reality. And when we understand that, okay, well, no, I have a choice and my energy doesn't have to be directed into that hardship. Things just flow and events come. And, I've had moments where it's like, I can't pay my bills. And it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. And I can't do anything about it. I'm not going to stress myself over it because what can I do? An opportunity presents itself. And it has time and time again. Like, I've grown up in a reality and I wanted to experience this in all aspects. So, like, to fully understand what it's like to go through the depths of despair, you have to actually live it. So I got to live absolutely every type of despair that there is available. And I know I chose that as, like, even as a child, it's like, oh yeah, I'm working through karma and I'm working through stuff so that I can get to the potential of understanding where that doesn't control me anymore. And if I hadn't experienced any of that, and even sometimes the crystal telling me I was pregnant, it's like, why would it be telling me that? Like, that's just wrong. I was giving my power away. I was seeking outside of myself for answers that I already knew. It's like, of course not. But because I was seeking so hard, I actually created that response. I created the despair that my friends didn't like me, that, I was being pushed out of circles, that I wasn't loved. I was creating that within me because I didn't feel it for myself. And I've always stated, like my biggest trait is I hate lying. I hate liars. It's just something like, don't just tell me the truth. I prefer to know the harsh truth than to, have the misconception placed upon me, because that doesn't give you choice. But what I realized in that statement was I do lie. I lie quite frequently to myself when I'm unhappy, when I'm not giving, and that's in the throat, when I'm not expressing my true self, my true feelings. And for some people, it will sound crazy. I sound like a lunatic to myself most of the time. It's like I'm going nuts, I swear it. But I'm not, because it's my true core essence. I know through my experience, through my energy, that what I say is truth. And it's truth for me. It doesn't have to be truth for anybody else. But I know that in sharing that, it will resonate with that conscious collective and the ones that want to be in this plane of creation rather than stuck in the stagnancy of a flat earth that has me confined by a matrix. Okay, well, I created the matrix, so let's unfurl this planet. Let's make it round again. Let's go, okay, I'm no longer stuck, like Neo took the red pill, he got out of the matrix, didn't he? In the film, like, it literally shows us how to escape. It's
So
through
good.
the belief, the lies that we tell ourselves. The little lie is in that word no matter what. Until you know, and you know in the sovereignty of yourself, you will feel in alignment, you will feel well, you will feel healthy, you will feel nourished, energetic. You'll just want to live. When you're out of alignment, everything is stagnant. You'll feel achy, in pain, and I know this because I've got the literal pains at the moment. There's still stuck energy in me, but I'm choosing it, because I'm choosing to learn at this level to transmute all of that pain, all of the hardships. And I don't know if you've noticed, people, but go back and look at some of my old videos. Transformation actually exists. Like, people like, I'm nearly 47. That's like nearly 50. Like, when I was looking at people my age when I was a kid, they all looked old.
You look great.
Now, this doesn't happen because I'm doing anything special. If anything, I've actually taken a lot of the products and a lot of the things I was using away, because I was like, well, this isn't helping. It's actually drying my skin. It's actually making me feel worse.
Mm.
And I started self-talk and self-love and moving the energy. Like, our meridian points are our lymphatic system. That's our drainage of our toxic energy. And the more that I started to remove that, the more I get rid of my gobble turkey neck with no creams or anything. I do use castor oil because it's a natural absorbent and healer. But these things are here to assist us. Like medicine, it's a tool that kind of puts a band-aid on it. Whereas deep down, we have to actually look at what the problem is. Like, I had blocked saliva glands to the point my face was round, it was puffy, it was showing up under my eyes, I was congested, I was starting to feel all the sickness. And this is because that lymph node is blocked here. And this is one of our main ones. So when we're blocked through the neck, everything that we're absorbing gets attracted to that block. It's kind of like, glue. If you rub it around on a table, it's going to pick up every little bit of dirt and muck that's around because it's still sticky. That's like our stuck energy. And when we get to move past that stickiness and actually, like, wash it clean, which is literally what I do in the show. It's like, okay, I'm cleansing, I'm washing, I'm removing all the toxins, and I'm telling the microorganisms in my body to act like little soldiers and to go and heal and unblock the area. That's all I've done. I've changed my mindset into health rather than stagnancy. And things shift and change. And it's a really beautiful process to see that happen. And that happens through collective connections, through conscious awareness, because I wouldn't have known this if I wasn't searching for it. I wouldn't have known it if I didn't have it, because I wouldn't go looking for it. If I was completely healthy and I had all the money in the world, if I was a wealthy girl, that song keeps popping into my head. What could I do? Like, if we go into that mentality, okay, if none of my hardship, if I didn't experience any of them, I'd probably be a queen of some sort, right? I'd be royalty up there and everybody worshipping me and thinking of myself as this egoic form that is just so powerful and better than everyone else. Whereas because of the hardships, I'm actually on a plane of duality. I actually get to sit as the axis point and go, well, I am and I'm not. I'm both either nor. And in that, it doesn't, like, I'm royalty to me. I'm my own queen. I'm my own sovereign being. And, I don't need people to worship me. If anything, that's probably one of my biggest blocks. Like, please don't look at me. Like, oh, I don't want to be important. What if I'm wrong? Fears of human existence, the fears of others being portrayed onto you. Oh no, that doesn't sound right, or that's just crazy talk. Einstein was crazy too, right? all of these people that have created these devices were all crazy at some point, because it's a belief that hasn't existed yet. It's a concept that most people don't talk about. And when we get to understand that and we get to grow through it, then you can see the beauty in the hardship. And I've always seen the beauty in the hardship. It's like myself, okay, I needed to experience what it was like for somebody to violate my physical being, to take away my rights, and to associate the shame and the separation and the embarrassment that is felt. Like, that controls so much of our reality, because fear is that balance point. We have good and bad, happiness, love, all the, put your label on it, whatever you want, your negative and positive. We look at a battery, it's got both, it has to, that's energy. And in the middle, or the container of the battery, is that balance point. And that balance point is fear, because fear, one, either drives us to do something because it gives us a little bit of excitement, acceleration, it's like amplitude. So it's shooting out the positive end. Let's go try something new. Let's be somebody different. Or it can revert to the opposite, where it stays dormant in the negative because, oh, I don't want to move this energy. I want it to stay within the container of the battery. We are batteries, except our energy doesn't have one singular in and out point. We have multiple. And those multiple points each have their own battery connection, and they can get stuck. And it's really simple to move through it once we start talking energy and emotions, because it is the foundation of our conscious being.
Totally. I think you've summarized everything we've learned in a year in this hour that we've had, and it's been beautiful to just see this depth come out in our conversations and our shares. And I've missed this. I've missed these moments, and it feels good when we just get to talk, bounce off each other, listen to each other. I suppose this is why we're going to continue to do this and evolve and see what that looks like. So if you have loved listening in just over this hour, let us know, because we want to get the feedback from you guys. If you've hung in there and you've been just like, this is profound, please share it to people. Make a comment saying, hey, Awæcnian Academy, or hey, Marie and Flea, I really resonated with this bit. And these pieces that Flea were just summarizing in her shares there around that sovereignty and becoming unstuck, we have beautiful resources to share with you for $9.95 US. Like, you are getting hours and hours worth of just really juicy, profound experts and wisdom keepers and knowledge that will just blow your mind and shift you in a quantum experience that you get to take on your own journey to integrate with and come back to. And we've got it all on our beautiful platform. So check us out at www.Awæcnian Academy. And for those that are listening, Awæcnian means to awaken and come back into one. And if you're new, following us, going, why did you choose that name? Go back and check out our past stories. But it's been the theme of this chat today, about honoring the individuation of who we are, our sovereignty, but also coming back into oneness so we can create a future, create a world that is more inspiring, higher frequency, that is informative, and just sharing that passion that we have today. And we want more of that. And that's why we continue to do this. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you want it in a half an hour? Or are you happy with the hour? Or do you want more? Let us know, because we've got lots of ideas and we've got things that are percolating in the field, but we want to hear from you. Let us know if you want more of this, or if you want something else, because we're shifting, we're growing, we're evolving. And I feel like this has been a really beautiful summary of the year we've had, the learnings we've had, and the growth that we've had. So come and connect with us. And thank you, Flea. You've summarized it so beautifully in your shares. I know we could talk about all the things, and we have before, but we can keep talking about these things. Let us know what you're interested in, what you want to hear more of, and we look forward to connecting with you.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your time, Flea.
I love you. Love all of you. And don't forget to share, please, because this is how we get seen and we get heard. And if it resonates with you, then share, share, share. This is what we love. You never know who's in your contact list that's not in ours that really needs this information. And like Marie said, head over to the website, $9.95. You will get all of that healing that we created literally for pennies. Because it should be available for everyone. And there are so many people in there, at least one of them will resonate with where you are right now. And yeah, send through your questions. If there's something that you don't understand or I've triggered something, please send it through because I love answering questions that trigger people. Bye, guys.
Bye.